Hi, my name is Layla Garner. I was originally baptized as Episcopalian, but I've been going to River Road for about 1 year or two. So I wanted to begin with the first thing that I believe in, which is empathy. I remember one of the first books I ever read was about this girl named Grace, and her superpower was not to fly or be invisible, but it was to have empathy. She could tell if someone was unhappy, and she often tried to fix it. I'm still a big reader today, and every time I finish a new book, I always consider the characters' beliefs and thoughts, and the book after that usually becomes my favorite book. So my open-mindedness also has come from living in different countries and traveling a lot. From living in an apartment in China to living in the city of San Francisco, I have experienced so many different types of religions and faiths. When I first came to River Road, I read the first 7 principles, and I strongly resonated with them. Like, for example, the acceptance of one another and encouragement to a spiritual growth in the congregations. I also believe in being part of a community. I consider whether it being your family, close group of friends, or your congregation, I think it's so important to have and be a part of. When I first started high school last year, I felt that I needed to find my thing, so I decided to join my school's theater tech. Now, I'm not one to spend my free time using power drills and wood stuff, but I stayed because of the people. Since then, I've made so many close friends from all different grades and backgrounds, and a community to me is a place where you can truly be yourself. Last but not least, I believe in embracing change and not pushing it away. I know from experience, don't try and push it away, because sometimes you get stuck and you need to accept it. Right now, I think that there is a higher power looking down on me. There's a part of me that always thinks that the people most important to me who have passed away are still watching me and making sure I get through life okay. When I'm struggling with life in general, my mom usually recites the Serenity Prayer to me, and I still to this day truly believe in the words, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I also believe that my beliefs might change in the future, and I don't want to be scared when it comes. Join me in a moment of silent meditation.
A part of my brain is telling me to just stick to the script. So, of course, 1/4 of my entire speech is improvised. Have you ever heard of the glass half full thing? They say if you put a glass of water half full in front of an optimist, he will see it as half full. If you put it in front of a pessimist, they'll see it as half empty. But what you don't know is that there are more parts. The scientist sees it 100% full, 1/2 water, 1/2 air. The engineer sees it as not big enough. But I just see a glass of water. But maybe in the future I may see something else. I believe that there is change. The world around us changes all the time. It can be small changes. A person decides to take a different route when biking or decides not to bike at all. Or it can be a big change, a new law passed, an increase in price. The problem is, like most people, I don't know if I should be changing with it. Or should I be avoiding it? Change is good or bad, but I know for a fact it can't be avoided. I want an answer. I wanted to know what to do. I wanted to be able to say, hey, I believe in this, and have no doubt in my mind. But there is a doubt. In my mind, I will ask myself, is that correct? But I reassure myself because I know that if I'm wrong, I can always change it. People often ask me what I want to be when I grow up. My parents tell me that sometimes that means that they themselves don't know what they want to be yet. The world changes, and so do we. A world in which everyone would make one choice and stick with it would be chaos, not because of the fear of choosing, but the fear of not being able to change their answer. I don't like anything to be said. If I were to give an option or an answer and not be able to change it, I would never learn something new. I know some people find that annoying, but I want to be able to see everything I can from many views so I can understand people better. I'm not saying that change is easy. It hardly ever is. Most of the time, it is easier to ignore it or fear it and confront it. But it is needed. I've seen firsthand change can happen. And a person who be a bully to me and who I thought was an enemy is now one of my closest friends. Humans have this great skill to evolve. There's a reason why we created the eraser. We realized that there has to be change. I have changed for better or worse. I am different than I was before. I have matured, which is not the change itself, but the accepting of that change. Some things have stayed the same. I know what I feel is right and wrong, but I know that everyone has their own reasons for doing things. And I am happy to say that those reasons, for most of the time, are good reasons. So when you ask me what I believe in, I will tell you I believe that everyone and everything, for better or worse, can change. And now some of you may be asking, did I just give an entire statement avoiding the main question? Yes. But in my opinion, I also just found a different way of doing it. And in the future, if I don't like it, I can always change it.
I can't tell you how long I've spent writing this speech. Seriously, I've written a kind of absurd amount of drafts, which I then deleted entirely upon their completion. I tried writing this whole speech about how I don't believe in God, never have, and probably never will. It's all true, but it didn't feel right. Because honestly, even if I did believe in God, I doubt it would really make any difference. God or not, people are still suffering. And God or not, I still believe that we have an obligation to do something about that. If there is a God, they're clearly not going to fix our problems if we ask nicely enough. That's up to us. It's up to each individual person to care about everybody else. Last summer, I did a program called The Encampment. 25 kids from all around the US, from more backgrounds than you could possibly imagine, all brought together by nothing but a shared drive to do something. We knew nothing about each other. But after a month of some of the most incredible experiences I have ever had, after going out together and registering people to vote, speaking with civil rights leaders who worked beside MLK, teaching young children who were forgotten by their school systems, after a month of that, it really didn't matter. We had a shared mission, and that brought us together more than coming from the same neighborhood ever could. We all cared, and you can find that anywhere. I mean, you can find it right here. Just look around you. This congregation is filled with people who, for no evolutionarily explainable reason, care about the people around them. We don't need a God to make things okay. We have each other, and that means more to me than any God ever could.
Today, I have come to talk to you about my beliefs about the world and life. I believe that life is a cycle. I believe that when you die, your spirit is reincarnated into a new person, like a cycle. This is because in this world, you can find cycles everywhere. For example, there is the water cycle, carbon cycle, and nitrogen cycle. These cycles are very important to the world and keep it functioning. But if you disrupt these cycles, it disrupts the entire world. For example, the carbon cycle, which deals with the cycle of carbon from organisms on the ground to the air, can be hurt by introducing extra carbon into it through burning fossil fuels that humans have dug up from the ground. Another cycle in the world, I believe, is respect. I believe that respect is the key to a good society. With respect for each other and the environment, a society can prosper and succeed. Respect is like a cycle because if you give it to someone else, then they will give it back to you, creating the cycle. When a person has respect for another, then they will trust and follow that person, which creates a more connected society. If everyone in a society respects each other, then everyone is kinder and more connected to each other, making it a better one. A famous question that people ask is, what is the meaning of life? To me, the answer to that question is joy. I believe that life is a gift to be used for joy and happiness. Life should be used for personal happiness, which can be achieved through many different ways, depending on who you are, unless it infringes on others' happiness. If cooking makes you happy, then cook. If being rich makes you happy, then by all means become rich. But if you ever feel as if you're starting to become unhappy, rethink your choices and goals in life. Life creates endless possibilities for a person to experience. And I believe that people should try and experience the most that they can, and so that when it comes to the end, you feel satisfied with your life and that it was fully used to its potential. Thank you.
If you asked me to pick something that annoys me, something more specific or out of the box than being late or having too much homework, I might think for a second and reply, constitutional originalism. And that's basically the belief that the Constitution should be interpreted exactly as the Founding Fathers intended it, way back in the 1700s, which is incredibly stupid for the following reasons. First of all, it was written by a bunch of white men, some of whom owned slaves, so their words shouldn't be considered immutable law, even now after we've mostly decided that women and people of color are, in fact, people. And second of all, if you really want to nitpick, constitutional originalism isn't following the founders' intent at all. The Constitution was supposed to be a living document, something that changes with time, which is like the exact opposite of trying to interpret it as if we're still living in a time when there's no internet and occasionally everyone dies of yellow fever. It has come to my attention that this is supposed to be my belief statement, and while this is in fact something I believe in, it isn't the whole story that maybe you're all looking for. This past year has been marked by political and social turmoil in this country and others. And it is in this atmosphere of conflict and suspicion that I have been asked to reflect on what I believe in. So naturally, the first thing that came to mind is everything that is wrong in the world today. And back to the whole thing about constitutional originalism, what bothers me about that, really, is people's inability to change and accept that maybe there are some wrong things in the centuries-old document. And on a bigger scale, a whole world sort of scale, this same rigidity is something that holds us as a people back from truly empathizing with one another. And perhaps not so coincidentally, if change and growth is the first thing I believe in, empathy is the second. You know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes, even if it doesn't look broke to you, it does to somebody else, and you just have to look at it from their point of view. And people these days have a lot of trouble believing others when they say what looks broken from their points of view. But that's where empathy comes in, the empathy and the compassion that you need to make the first step to fixing things. The first step in the scientific process is identifying the question. And I know a lot of people have stopped believing that they can change themselves a long time ago. Goodness knows I've had those moments, and I'm only like 15. But I'm telling you right now, it's always possible. We are all living documents. We are not written to stay the same. And this I know, because I believe in change, and I believe in empathy, and I believe in you.
Aya Reeves, one of our coming-of-age youth, couldn't be here today, but she sent her words, which I am honored to read to you. When I was 11, I sat on my couch and considered something that I rarely thought of before, eating meat. I imagined a cow peacefully eating grass. A man came and roughly took her away. He put her through a metal box machine. The cow was scared for her life and screamed a lot. In a very direct way, she went in one end and came out meat. It was then that I made the connection between eating meat and killing an animal. I realized that meat didn't come from an animal, but that it was a dead animal. 2 nights in a row, I had a hamburger waiting for me at the dinner table. I imagined the cow, and on the second night, I didn't eat the hamburger. I still ate fish for 2 weeks, but I soon realized that a fish deserves life just as much as any other animal. So I stopped eating that too. I was vegetarian for over 2 years. During that time, I learned a lot. I learned about pigs in crates so tight they can't turn around. I learned about baby boy chicks who are killed when they're just a few days old because they won't produce eggs. I learned about the separation of mother dairy cows and their calves. I found this part especially sad. I learned about the separation of mother dairy, oh, I read that already. Sorry. In the dairy industry, mother cows are forcibly impregnated and put through 9 months pregnancy. Soon after birth, their babies are taken away so humans can drink the milk. The baby cows are often killed for veal. Learning about this, I watched so many sad videos and cried seeing animals in pain. I also learned the destruction that animal agriculture causes to the planet and the harmful effects that animal products have on our bodies. Eventually, I learned that veganism is more than food. It's a lifestyle. I don't wear leather, wool, silk, or down, and I don't support marine parks or zoos. By buying products, I send a message that I agree with their production, consumption, and disposal. Buying is voting, and it's nice to know that I'm voting against hurting animals. Though transitioning to a vegan lifestyle, I've also come to realize that veganism is a big part of my identity. There are 3 things I'm passionate about: vegetarianism, environmentalism, and filmmaking. And these are the 3 rules that I live by. Be kind to myself, be kind to others, be kind to the planet. There's a reason veganism is on the top of my list. It puts into action the rules of my life. Be kind to myself. If I am to do any good in the world, I believe I need to be my best, most vibrant, and healthy self. Kindness to others. Veganism is a lifestyle whose entire concept is based on reducing suffering. The world is a vibrant place and home to many forms of life. In my expression of kindness, I aim to show compassion not only to humans, but also the intelligent beings who simultaneously reside on this planet. Kindness to the planet. I believe my existence on the earth provides me with a duty and responsibility to ensure its health and longevity for this and future generations. Overall, I aim to be kind, and it is through veganism that I have found a special form of kindness. I hope more people will find this way of life to help create a kinder world. The words of Aya Reeves.